Let's go.
People don't go into fighting that had great lives. And people don't do well at fighting that had great lives. So now I'm looking at this athlete. I don't imagine she was Miss Popular at school. I don't imagine a lot of nice things happened to her. But I do know the sacrifice that it would take to make an Olympic team, let alone to make the Olympic finals. You have no money. You have no job. This doesn't pay. But there is one payoff, which if should you succeed, and only 3 of them will, gold, silver, and bronze, somebody somewhere will pat you on the back and tell you good job. She's an amateur athlete. She's going to go fight 4 people this week and get nothing for it. None of you would have even known she was fighting. So now imagine you reach your goal. You sacrificed. You ate the SpaghettiOs. You lived 3 deep down in mom's basement. You did all of these things, and you brought honor to your country. And not only did somebody not tell you good job, which was the only thing you ever hoped to get, they now do the opposite. And they tell you you're a man. You think life for her gets better? This is such a terrible thing for her to have said about her. And it's not true. There is no test.
Oh boy. It might feel like a gender controversy at the Olympics is a very 2024 kind of issue, but we've always been obsessed with other people's gender. Like ever since the 30s, we were like pointing fingers at other countries saying, your women aren't like our women. Our women are normal. Your women are actually men dressed up as women. And as soon as that thought like permeated the globe, like we haven't been able to let it go. And now that people are trans-identifying, it feels like all of it has like reached a boiling point. So the transgender women and even the cisgendered women, they're all getting shat on. It takes no prisoners. We got Alona Mar.
I always get these comments, but like recently it kind of ramped up. I get comments being called a man and being called masculine and asking if I'm on steroids.
You got Katie Ledecky also being called a man. You can rest assured that if you're a woman who's talented.
And Katie Ledecky, swimmer, I think she got gold. She just has like a bigger build because, you know, she's a swimmer. And she has like broader shoulders, you know. Something that swimmers benefit from. I like the idea that there are dudes that want women to win golds, but they have like a fat ass and like the daintiest upper body. It's like, what do you think swimming is? I don't understand. What do you put my ass in the water.
Man is basically fighting words.
You put me up against her. I am floating to the finish line, okay? I am not making any headway, okay? Motherfuckers think that there's like a cheek stroke or something. I don't know. All right. Doggy paddling to the end, yeah. They want someone like Kim K in the Olympics. They want like these Mewtwo bitches. It's me, I'm bitches. To win in the Olympics. And it's like, dude, that body is not built for doing anything other than swimming. Like, I don't know what you want. There's a really good photo of female athletes in different here we go, this one. And it really shows how like 1, different the human body can be, but also 2, how different sports require such different body types to excel in. So like I'll just go in order from left to right. I think you guys can see everything, right? Okay, good. But volleyball, swimming, you could see she's fucking arms, dude. Fucking Michael Phelps build. Boxing, gymnastics, shot put, gymnastics, pole vault, swimming, adventure racing. Dude, I want to do some adventure racing. Holy shit. Where are we? Hammer throw, basketball, bodybuilding, golf, weightlifting, and then here we go. Let's see. I think there's some more that we didn't show yet. Here we go. Figure skating, basketball, weightlifting, gymnastics, triple jump, trampoline, long distance running, heptathlon, sports aerobics, gymnastics, high jump. You mean the tall bitch be high jumping, the 6'2" bitch be high jumping? Color me shocked. Rhythmic gymnastics, volleyball, etc. Anyways, point being, yeah, certain body types are going to show up more in certain sports, right? I think she just calls it jumping. She just calls it jumping. Oh, the sports are underneath. I wondered how you knew them all. I memorized all of them. Just regular jumping for her, yeah. But yeah, anyways, it's just a fundamental misunderstanding of like what the female body can look like. You pulled that up way too fast. I mean, I Googled female athlete's photo and it was the first one, okay? All right.
In sports, you're going to be called a man. You also have 2 Zambian football players who are targeted specifically by Australian news outlets.
There's 2 athletes in the Zambian football team who played against the Matildas the other day.
2 of them are on the Zambian football team, and our Matildas went to play with them. You have to ask yourself, were you not a biological male, would you have scored twice against our girls?
What's even worse?
All girls are girls. All girls are girls. All girls have long hair. All girls have XX chromosomes. The Matildas. We should rename the Matildas the XXs so they know that we're girls. And lastly, you have Lin Yuting of Taipei and Iman Khalif of Algeria, the 2 women boxers who are competing at this year's Olympics. As a professional boxer and boxing promoter and radical trans activist, I felt like this story was tailor-made for me. One of the first things that I discovered was that there were more people talking about Iman Khalif than the Olympic Dutch rapist. The celebrities that decided to speak up on this controversy, they did not send their best. Stinky McFart ass, the fattest baby in the room. Every member of the Paul household, I wrote down here, the family that seems like they might use the word bloodline one too many times in casual
Rogue stereo. Thank you for the 2 so much.
Conversation. Piers Morgan.
Please, guys, please. You guys know I'm an iDubbbz enjoyer here, okay? I think iDubbbz is one of the, basically the only content creators that I can think of in our day and age that made content that people really hated. Obviously, people really loved it, and then people who were actually based fucking hated it. And he is one of the only content creators to actually come out and say, yeah, I'm going to own up to this shit. And I'm going to host boxing events for charity. And I'm not going to pretend like I didn't do this shit. I'm not going to ignore it. And I want to be better. I want to be better. And I know he's been doing videos more recently. So please go give the channel some love. I mean it extra hard this time because I know how hard it is doing content, and YouTube especially. It's very hard when you take a huge break and you've changed your content so drastically. And you know, like, I see them against my will. Please unpause. No, you guys have to look at fucking Piers Morgan's face, okay? You have to be as uncomfortable as you want. Or as I can make you, okay? I want to encourage more people to make content like this. I want to encourage more people who make rightoid content to take a look at their content and be like, you know what? Actually, I don't want to be this person. And I want to show them that, like, there's a path to being better, and there's a path to making content that you can be proud of and making a community that you can be proud of. And I will read that in a second. Sheltered Rosebud. I want you guys to all support his venture. Please comment. Please comment. Please subscribe if you haven't subscribed. Please like the video times 100. Please do that. It takes 2 seconds to just give the video a like, to give a little comment, just love this video, etc. Because I want more stuff like this, and I want to show people that this type of content is good, and I want more of this stuff. So, let's go.
Morgan, Dilbert, Doug Dimmadome, Tutter Mouse from Bear in the Big Blue House. I was listening to him on a podcast with the Purple Otters, and they were saying all sorts of like awful
Sorry, we need 2,000 mules to like the video. Yeah. Okay. Looking to see if Denims like the video. There we go. Do it. Do it and you could be just like me. Quote, thank you so much for the tier 1. Okay. Back to the video. Back to the video.
Yeah, so the wait's been long enough. Let's hear from these people.
They let a transgender, there's apparently at least two transgender boxers that are fighting in women's boxing. What the fuck?
I don't understand.
You can't understand because you're not retarded.
Look at this. This is a man. This is a man.
That's a dude. And if it is a woman, a very ugly woman.
Khalif like slaps.
Excellent. Me when I'm a total piece of shit. Where if it is a woman, then it's very ugly.
For everything.
I don't know if iDubbbz addresses it, but I'm glad that everybody else in here knows enough about this type of shit to know that the amount of colorism that went down with regard to Iman Khalif, like straight up, my sister looks like Iman. My Arab sister looks like her. Obviously, her hair is different and, you know, her makeup is different or whatever. She looks very similar to her. But it's, oh, you don't have this particular nose and this particular chin and this particular hair. What are you, a man? So, yeah. It's probably going to take a few years for him to have a better ratio when his old viewers stop watching. Oh, for sure. Yeah. Yeah. Clefairy, thank you so much for the 17 months.
Karini in the chest almost looks like Karini gets groped.
And you've got this disgusting piece of shit that tries to come over and, hey, it's okay, it's okay. Angela Karini wants nothing to do with this guy.
They have no breasts. They are built like men. They are 5'10".
The far left wants to allow biological males to beat the living crap out of women in boxing.
She got hit so hard she didn't know what the hell hit her. It's a person that transitioned. He was a good male boxer.
Congratulations to the male. Bravo on slugging that woman in a boxing match. Wow, you really proved how great you are at fighting by punching a woman in the face.
Is it not obvious that these people are just fucked up? They're really fucked up in the head. Like, I feel very fortunate to have not continued going down that path. I do have to cut them some slack because it is difficult to find accurate news when the only way you find your news is by looking at Riley Gaines' Instagram.
They let a transgender, there's apparently at least two transgender boxers. Distinction.
Says they're not transgender.
What are you talking about?
That's what this says.
They may be intersex. Riley Gaines posted it on her Instagram, failing gender eligibility tests. Okay, that means they're transgender, Jamie.
Getting your trans news from Riley Gaines is a very bad choice. This is like reading the Jerusalem Post to learn about atrocities in Palestine. Iman Khalif and Lin Yuting are not trans, and it's only an allegation that they're intersex. So when I talk about trans people in this video, it's meant to highlight the fact that the same tactics that are being used to dehumanize trans women are being used to dehumanize all women.
They have no breasts. They are built like men. They are 5'10".
If you don't fit into this very small box of what society has deemed a woman to be, you're going to be accused of being a man.
Most recently, I've seen people on, well, not on TikTok because I don't use the app, but people on Twitter reposting videos from TikTok. Just know in the future, if I ever say I saw a video on TikTok, it means I saw it as a YouTube short or I saw it on my Twitter account because I guess I'm just too much of a boomer to go on TikTok. But I saw a video on TikTok and it was of this, I don't know, like a 16-year-old girl or something. And she was like crying because she was like, these trans people were making me get transvestigated at my school. And I just got called a man and I hate trans people for doing this to me. And I just need it to be known that like girly pop, they were going to call you a man anyways. Okay. Trans people were not they were not something people knew about. When I was growing up, like that was not a thing. The people who did not fit into the male-female spectrum were exclusively called, which I don't know if this is, I don't use the term, but I'm going to use it to talk about it right now, but hermaphrodites. That's what they were called when I was growing up. That's it. That was it. You were that, which was like nobody even knew what that was, or you were man or woman. You could be like a tomboy, but you were a woman. You could be an F-slur, but you were a man. Trans people were not something that anyone knew anything about when I was growing up. And I still got called a man, okay? Because I had a little bit too much body hair. Okay? And I didn't really take care of the way that I looked. Okay? I promise you, they're just changing the insult a little. Okay? I promise. It's not trans people that are doing this to you.
Now, I know some of you haven't heard the full story of Iman Khalif at the Olympics, so I'll give you a brief overview, because if you listen to anyone from a month ago, they were talking about it like it's the season finale of Game of Thrones.
At 12:20, she went into the ring. By 12:22, we had an international disaster.
Iman's first opponent in this competition was Italian boxer Angela Carini. Now, Angela Carini is a good boxer. She's been boxing for many years and is obviously good enough to represent Italy. So the fight starts, and in the first 30 seconds, things are looking pretty basic, but you could tell that Angela Carini is outmatched. So after those 30 seconds, she goes to her corner because she has something wrong with her headgear. She needs to get her headgear readjusted. So after she gets her headgear fixed, she comes in, and not like 5 seconds later, she
Pokemon music is good.
Gets a cross to the face. Trump has been calling this a jab.
Well, she got hit with 2 jabs. A jab is not supposed to be that bad. 2 jabs, and she said, no more, I don't want, because she got hit so hard. She said, I've never been hit like that before.
By the way, I do think it's important to point out these small things, because I don't think it's small. It's a very malicious tactic that a lot of these fuckers use to downplay the skill and ability of someone like Iman and say that she's got man strength. And all it took was a jab.
A jab is not supposed to be that bad.
Just a little jab. It wasn't a jab. It was a fucking straight 2 to her face. That's what did it. And that's what any female boxer, any good female boxer would do. Makes me violent. So Angela Carini gets hit with the 2. She's like, ouch, that hurted. And she goes back to her corner. All of these pundits and people commentating on it, they're saying all sorts of shit like how heartbreaking it is and how difficult it was to watch.
For me, my reaction when I saw that clip, I mean, it's just absolutely brutal. It's really ugly, and it's quite upsetting to see this boxer on the canvas crying about being absolutely pummeled.
And I was wincing as I was watching the footage.
I know. Look, to watch a woman get punched in the face is almost unbearable.
This shit was...
The best part about this is, like, you can go watch MMA fights where these women, they look like mangled afterward. Like, it's 2 cis women, obviously. And afterward, like, straight up, they look like a different person. To look at this and be like, my heart is aching seeing this woman gently get punched on the face twice. It's like, what the fuck are you talking about? Born Dead, thank you for the Prime. Thank you. Oh, God.
It's not difficult to watch. This was fine. It was not heartbreaking. It was literally boxing. Watching someone get knocked out cold, anyone getting knocked out cold, that's a difficult watch. Some woman getting booped on the snoot and then crying about it is not a difficult watch. You're a pussy. After Iman was declared the winner, normally people shake hands, but Angela Carini basically just denied the handshake. I'm genuinely uncertain of how many fabricated quotes there are of Angela Carini out there, because one of the first stories that I saw was from Fox News.
One more quote from the defeated Italian. Boxing is a sport that teaches you to have respect for the opponent. It cannot and must not become an abuse.
You can't be abusive like any sport. It has to be a vehicle for, I can't understand the translation here, but.
I don't know how these fuckers live with themselves. Yeah, I think the important part here is to say that it was an abuse, and I'll take out this part about it being a weapon in life, but only for defense.
You want to know what I do?
No.
I'm not a woman, so this circumstance could never happen.
This editing is so good.
But if I was Karine and they said, go into the boxing ring, the fight's going to happen, I would put my hands behind my back and I would stand perfectly still and I would not move. I would not guard. I would not put my hands up. Or I think they might require you to before the fight starts. I'd immediately put them down and I'd put them to the side. Put my hands behind my back. I wouldn't fight. I'd say, no, you can win. Yeah, but you're going to have to beat me defenseless. I don't play these games.
I used to think like Tim Pool when I was a kid.
This is like my favorite emoji is like the head exploding emoji.
I don't play these games.
I used to think like Tim Pool. When I was a kid, I would consume a lot of TV shows and movies, and I do a lot of daydreaming and fantasizing about like what I would do in a specific scenario. Well, I do this, I do that, and then everyone would cheer for me. You build up like a fictional scenario. Bro really thinks that he would be the leader of like a civil rights movement, and that Iman Khalif would like have no thought in her brain. She'd just be an out of control animal, just continuing to punch someone who's defenseless in the boxing ring.
And I would stand perfectly still and I would not move.
And the ref would just like...
The reality is, Tim Pool would be the type of person, the second half a punch was thrown, he'd immediately flinch and run. I don't even think Tim Pool could ever eat even one punch in his life. He'd fold immediately. He'd be like, I'm going to stand still. I'm gonna, and then he would run away. Like, he would run away like a little bitch, like 100%. I promise you.
Look on in horror, and he wouldn't like stop you or break anything up. He'd just be like, oh no, like this is a child's thought. Why are you sharing that? Despite what Karine said about not wanting to make a
Oh, we taking iDubbbz as a source of good political commentary? Good comedy show. Being a loser on a Sunday morning? Damn, bro. At least go watch cartoons. Jesus. Thank God I'm not that guy.
political statement, just dropping to her knees and crying was enough to rile up the anti-trans community so that they could use this as another example.
2 transgender women boxers have now been given permission to compete in the Olympics.
At least 2 transgender boxers.
I don't know if y'all been watching the Olympics, but I called this a while ago. This trans lie, we have to stop. A woman who got her ass kicked by some dude in 46 seconds.
It's unfortunate that Iman and Lin Yuting are specifically being accused of being trans because it automatically plays into the dichotomy that if a trans person was competing, it would be a problem. And that's not necessarily the case. Sports federations all across the world are figuring out what it means to have a trans athlete competing as a man or a woman. Each federation...
Terrifying. I put my hands behind my back and took that 6-month September deal like a man.
Thank you for the 6 months. Oh, thank you. Comedians have always kind of been making relevant political commentary. Yes. On the Lord's Day. Yeah. The idea that like comedians would never speak up on politics. Oh, like, what do you live under a rock? What the fuck are you talking about? Where do you live?
Is deciding different things. Now, I bring up these federations because the IBA is the Federation for Boxing. They are specifically the ones who have been working with the International Olympic Committee to put on boxing at the Olympics. Now, ever since, I want to say, the 2016 Olympics, there was some match fixing or accusations of match fixing, and the IOC and IBA have been butting heads. So Iman and Lin Yuting both competed in the IBA tournament in New Delhi in 2023, and they did well, but after the tournament, their sex test results came back. The sex tests for Iman Khalif and Lin Yuting both came back as XY. The argument that I'm making is that in the year of 2023,
quote, allegedly,
when these athletes competed and they were, targeted, sex tested, and stripped of their titles, there was no mention of gender eligibility in the handbook. In the letter that Iman receives from the IBA, it cites section 4.2.1 from the technical handbook. That section basically reads like, we reserve the right to make the final decision on a fighter's eligibility. Case closed, basically. And I just think that is so shitty. If you're going to, go through the effort of making a new handbook every year and changing the rules every year, clearly the rules mean something, or they should mean something. Because what's in the handbook for 2024 is basically what they did discreetly in 2023. And none of the fighters had that information. They didn't know what the gender eligibility requirements were. As far as they knew, it was be a woman. You can at least argue that if you waited for the following year where you established the definitions and the criteria, that information would be publicly available to everyone, including the competitors, and they can make the decision for themselves. Do I want to risk this? A lot of these losers online have been thinking the smoking gun here is these athletes not appealing the decision that the IBA made.
But they had a chance to appeal, but they didn't. That's the bottom line, which means they're male.
Why did they not appeal that unfair ruling?
If you're about to fight in the gold medal round and they tell you you can't because you're not actually a woman and you are one, why the hell would you not appeal? It makes no sense. These two are male.
I hate these people. The Court for Sports Arbitration is the high court for sport.
Hear me out for a second, guys, okay? If you're a cis woman and you've been a cis woman your whole life, and then they force you to take this gender test, and then you take this gender test, and then they don't actually give you the results, and they're just like, okay, XY, you're disqualified. Why would you do it again?
Whatever decision they make is the final decision. To put your gender identity, your whole being, in the hands of a sports court is already a crazy thing to do. They aren't here to determine what is right, what is correct. They're here to determine what's fair, what they think is fair for the sport. They don't care that you've been competing for the past 8 years, the money you've spent, the time you've spent, everything that you've done for the past 8 years is irrelevant to them because they can just look at your chromosomes and be like, you're a fucking man. Who are you appeasing and how are you rewarded at the end of the day for participating in that system? Piers Morgan says if she's a biological woman, he's a biological aardvark.
Look at this. This is a man. This is a man. And we don't care if they look like women. They have to actually be women. Look at this. We know this is a man. Eyes still matter.
So if these are the people you have to prove your womanhood to, is it really worth it? They clearly have already made up their mind. I don't think it's worth it. No, sorry, you're losers. The opinions of losers are not going to be considered.
What did I just say? Oh my God, wait. The guy with no friends. Ad hominem, top tier rhetoric. What are you talking about, rhetoric? You think I'm talking to you? I'm making fun of you with the rest of the people in chat. Well, you call ad hominems, the rest of us call an insult, okay? Go outside, man, okay? I am insulting you explicitly. Next, if you're gonna say something to try and bait me, you gotta do better than, sis, you mean normal? What are we, in 2016? You can think of something more interesting than that. Come on, use the noggin, get it jogging, let's go.
One of the first stories I read is a story of Ewa Klabukowska. Now, Ewa Klabukowska is a Polish track and field athlete. I think she's still alive today. But back in the 60s, when she was competing at the Olympics, she had to take a sex chromatin test. And that basically is a cheek swab, and she failed the test. Upon failing the sex test, she was stripped of all of her titles, essentially erased from the record books, and her results were publicized to the world. What's fascinating about Eva's story is after being banned from competing in women's sports, a year later, she gave birth to a son. Now, you might think,
it's almost like genetics are really fucking weird. And one of two things happened. One, the test was wrong, or two, it's more complicated than that.
The fucking GOST blood trail.
I have the Turner syndrome, which means both of my X chromosomes aren't fully developed. It's not something you can trust. I wonder whether my status as a woman would be questioned if I was in a similar situation. I've also been on different forms of HRT my whole life. They should be as readily available for trans people. Totally, totally agree with you. 100%.
I think that this gives her a lot of credit in the womanhood department. But if you listen to someone like Riley Gaines,
if you have a Y chromosome, you are a male.
Based on their definition of what a man is.
Because they tested XY positive, they're male.
A man got pregnant. What kind of excuse and cope would these people come up with?
If the DNA test comes back and says, sorry, you're a bloke, you can't compete anymore.
Okay, now we're in the 80s. We have Maria Jose Martinez Pateno. In 1985,
which also, I talked about this on Twitter. I asked people, if you had a coworker who was, who could get pregnant or was like 8 months pregnant, but you found out that they have XY chromosomes, would you refer to that person as a woman or would you refer to them as a man when talking to them and about them to your other coworkers? And the number of people that were like, unironically trying to pretend like that they would call that person a man was so funny to me. It was hilarious to me. There were so many people that were like, yeah, I would call my 8-month pregnant coworker a man. I would be like, Sarah, the male coworker that we have, he's 8 months pregnant. I know he dresses like a woman, has been a woman his whole life, is 8 months pregnant, has reproductive organs that belong to females. But that's a man if I've ever seen one, for sure, because XY. It's like, are you, what the fuck? You don't think this. There's no way you believe this. There's no way. You would never do that. You would be shamed. You would be socially shamed into not believing something so stupid.
She had forgotten her certificate of femaleness, so she needed to take another sex test. Unfortunately,
just so you know, you're allowed to say big naturals. Okay, thank you for giving me the courage.
She had failed this test. The Olympics sort of learned their lesson with Eva. They basically said, like, to all the athletes who failed the sex test, they said, fake an injury so you aren't humiliated. 2 months after she was advised to fake an injury, she got a letter that classified her as a 46XY male. But because Maria is different, she's built different, she has AIS, and that stands for androgen insensitivity syndrome. So any benefit that she would have gotten from testosterone would have been negated completely. She got dumped by her boyfriend. She was super worried that she had the same condition that had killed her brother years before. Through trying to pursue the idea of fairness, they have been so unfair to these women throughout time, and they haven't prevented any men from competing in sports. And it's not as if that would be the worst thing that happened. Like, if you're forcing a surgery on one of your athletes for them to be able to compete, that basically is like, we're the baddies. We're the ones doing the bad things. One of the arguments that I've seen floating around is, why should we accommodate such a low percentage of the population?
I very much think this person is a rarity, but I don't think you make exceptions for one rarity and put other XX women's health and safety at jeopardy.
We're not talking about one rarity when we talk about intersex people. We're talking about a portion of the population. These aren't people who are eventually going to go away. They're going to keep competing in sports, and they're going to keep showing up to the Olympics.
If you're dealing to being intersex, we're talking about 0.1% of the population.
Is that Caitlyn Jenner? I know she's not a Kardashian. She's a Jenner, but she's the worst Kardashian. We agree. We all agree on this. And it's like not even close. Like, because at least watching Kendall Jenner handing the Pepsi to the cops and being like, we did it. We solved BLM. At least that one has some comedic value. Like, I laugh at it. I'm like, nothing brings me joy here. It's just sadness. It's just sadness with this one.
Okay. It's a very, very small portion of the population.
Otherwise, no.
Even her family thinks she's the worst. Unsurprisingly.
Known as 0.1%. It's not an accurate number. The number is actually 0.018%, but I'm here to challenge what you might think is a tiny portion of the population. Because people with the name Caitlyn actually make up 0.00136%. There are 13 times more people who are intersex than people named Caitlyn in the US.
0.000 point whatever of the population.
0.001% of people have Swyer syndrome, which means you have XY chromosomes, but you have all the normal female reproductive organs. Now let's compare that to 0.0000124% of people named Megan with a Y. I could now kind of understand why Megan with a Y is pissed. Is because she wanted to be Megan with an X. Megxin.
0.01% and 2% of the entire global population.
People with androgen insensitivity syndrome make up 0.0035% of the population. To compare that to people named Piers, that would be 0.00007%. So you are 500 times more likely to be born with androgen insensitivity syndrome than to be named Piers. The reason I'm bringing up these percentages is because I think a lot of us have the tendency to like downplay and dehumanize people when we think that they're essentially an insignificant portion of the population. They feel insignificant because you don't know anyone who's intersex. I mean, you've heard these people. They're saying...
My favorite statistic to bring up is how many gingers walk among us. Last time I checked, there are more intersex people than there are gingers. Can you imagine being like, red hair? No. There are blondes and brunettes, and everything else is a mental illness. Okay? We don't need a whole new category for some freaks. For some genetic mutated freaks. You become a blonde or a brunette, or we make you illegal, okay?
We are a dying breed.
Good. Natalie, thank you for the 11 months. That would be crazy. If someone said that to you, you'd be like, you're insane. Yes, hair color is off of genetic mutations, 100%. I mean, yes. But like, that's a real thing and a real way that human hair presents itself. That is within the normal bounds of human expression. Generally, we should only concern ourselves with things that negatively impact your quality of life inherently because of this disorder or disease or whatever, blah, 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 blah. Everyone is kind of a walking genetic mutation. I mean, yeah. You would never look at a ginger and be like, you're not a ginger. You're a mentally ill blonde person. Like, that would be crazy. That would be so insane to do that. And there are people out there in the streets that say that to intersex people, that say that to trans people, that walk up to intersex people and they're like, no, you're a freak. You're supposed to be a man or a woman. We don't need a whole new category just for freaks like you. It's like, oh my God. No, dude, that's just a normal way that gender or sex is expressed. Sometimes you have these chromosomes and sometimes you have this thing that does this thing in your body and sometimes this happens. You're still living a long and healthy life. Okay. That's just a category of human beings. That's it. In classic leftist YouTuber video essay fashion, PhilosophyTube has a pretty good video on gender expression and how we want it to be this neat thing, but these categories are made up. And she uses this example of if we broke people up into categories based on height, the way that you go to the doctor and you write like male or female or whatever. Imagine if you went to the doctor
and forgot this YouTuber's name. Could you remind me? I want to give it a like.
This is iDubbbz. I'll post the link right now, and please go like the video, comment, etc. Please, 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 please. They do Creator Clash every year. They raise a bunch of money for charity. Well, not every year. I know it takes some time to get the boxers and everything like that, but please go give them some love. Please do. And he's finally started uploading videos again, and I want him to upload more videos, so we have to go give him love, or else I'll send the transgender boxers to your house. You wouldn't want that, would you? What was I trying to say? Oh man, I don't recall the detail. Also, mutations aren't inherently bad. It's literally how evolution progresses, right? Yeah. TLDR. It's fine, and it's within normal human expression. It's literally just normal human expression. Oh, tall. Yeah, I remember. Imagine going to the doctor, and then you have to put in male and female, and then we also decided to categorize anyone under 5'8" as a short.
Transgender boxer people trans.
And everyone over 5'8" as a tall. And if you were, or like everyone over 5'9" as a tall. And if you were like 5'8.5", people would be like, no, you're not. No, that's a mental illness. You pick 5'8" or you pick 5'9". We only have talls and shorts. That's it. And it's like, what? But I'm not, why do we have these arbitrary, stupid categories? This isn't even useful. What the fuck? Why can't we have other, wait, this is bad. Wait, this is stupid. We should have another category, or we should remove the categories and we should organize it based on categories that make sense to organize it based on. Like, if you're going to like a gynecologist, right? Then you would, or like, if you wanted to go get a prostate exam done or whatever, then it would make sense that you would specify genitals or whatever. That would make some sense. That would, if you're going to a doctor where something, you might have a hereditary issue, and that happens more to women, generally males or females, then yeah, it might make sense to be like, here's my information. But socially, there is no inherent benefit to having these categories and not having more or having less or having no categories. So, moving on.
XX chromosome woman, XY man. And then you show them one of these intersex people and their brain fucking explodes. They're like, what the hell? Like, I guess it's like a physical, like a biologically trans person. Like they can't compute.
The whole thing is confusing to me. It's not trans. It's not the transgender athlete declaring themselves female. This is at birth, I guess.
It's not a choice. It's, I guess, you're born this way.
Mutation in the genes, whatever.
Well, now that I can't say that it's a mental illness, I don't know what to do. This is like analog trans. This is acoustic trans? Boxing is inherently a dangerous sport. You're punching another person in the face and they're punching you. So the boxers are well aware of how unsafe it is. The doctors, the refs, the coaches, the judges, everyone fucking knows that it is just an unsafe sport in general. What they don't need is random commentators online saying how unsafe it is to have someone like Imam Khalif competing.
Men competing with women and destroying women's sports.
Muted lol. This guy looks like a Funko Pop. I think he collected so many of them, he became one. Where are his eyebrows? That is crazy, man. That is crazy, man. You freedom and beer. No, girly. You need microblading. Okay. You need microblading and a trip to Turkey. I don't know. Or better lighting, maybe. Maybe that's the problem. I don't know. But I'm uncomfortable.
What's it gonna take? It might take somebody dying.
She had never been punched like this before. Someone's gonna die.
This is about preventing a man from beating a woman to death.
Radical trans activists and those who support them are not going to be happy until a woman is dead. A woman is going to have to die for people to see.
Oh my God. You're so dramatic.
Reason and logic here.
I don't.
Must fearmonger. Must fearmonger.
think that would stop it.
These people are talking a lot about death. I don't think any of them got the memo. There's a lot of deaths in boxing. I think they're being very dramatic because they see an opportunity to push their agenda and they're like, sweet, I've been complaining about men in women's sports.
Someone with a penis coming at you in the locker room. How about my daughter not going into a locker room and seeing a man's penis? He's showing off a penis in a locker room with his penis out.
Now's the example where I could say, okay, like, it's violent and it could lead to death. Maybe people will listen to me now. If you sign up for boxing, compete in boxing, you're consensually agreeing to beat the shit out of another person as they attempt to do it to you. So the fear that these people are trying to propagate on the general public is not a new fear. But guess what? All of those female boxers at the Olympics, they've been doing it for years. Angela Carini, just like every other female fighter, consented to fighting her opponent.
And shame on the IOC for not protecting the safety of women's sports.
Right. Other women at an unfair advantage, but unsafe advantage.
It is up for a society to prevent the abuse of women, but we don't do that anymore.
Women getting injured in sport, women getting beaten in the boxing ring is not uniquely dangerous. A lot of these people just don't like it. It is like very obvious in the way that they talk that they feel personally uncomfortable with it.
Women shouldn't box. It's wrong. I can't watch it.
To watch a woman get punched in the face is almost unbearable.
To see a woman violently punched in the head by a man, I cannot understate how despicable that is.
And that tells you
the best part about that is, like, you just ask them about their opinions on cops and immediately their entire worldview is shattering in front of them. Don't look up 40% cops. I thought people with penises in women's locker rooms was the exclusive preserve of Republican gubernatorial candidates.
all you need to know, because they don't see men and women as equal. That's just a fact, and that's fine. That is like their ideology, but they can't insert their opinion about women's boxing, because if it was up to them, women wouldn't be boxing, period.
Actually, some things are better left to the fellas, like catching blows to the head, and some things are better left to the women, like giving birth, for instance.
Megyn Kelly wants us to use our eyes.
Eyes still matter.
For everything except her ability to box. Okay, so what the hell? So you want me to just very blatantly discriminate against someone and then close my eyes for the boxing? Because Iman's got fights. She's got 9 losses and only 7 knockouts. You look at Gervonta Davis's fight record and you're like, oh shit, what a knockout rate. I don't think I want an average professional boxer to go in the ring with this guy. You can make that argument, but no one's making the argument for him because they're like, they're all grown men. They can choose for themselves what they want to do with their lives. lives. But
It's really sad too, because obviously sports is very complicated, and people's freedom and people's ability to choose what they want to do, blah 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 blah. But feminism literally talks about this concept that we infantilize the shit out of women, and we see men as disposable, and this has severe negative consequences for everybody involved, especially men in this instance, actually. Because we send men out to do dangerous jobs, and instead of listening to them when they talk about wanting more protection for whatever job they're doing, we just ignore them because they're men and it doesn't matter. I mean, like, you guys have all seen that one Twitter video where like the dudes are working on the oil rig, and that work environment is very unsafe. Someone can slip and really hurt themselves. But people see it and they're like, yeah, real men should die to get their paycheck. They should die for a $7.25 an hour job. And you're like, maybe. Hear me out. Hear me out. We shouldn't view men and women this way. What the fuck?
But when it comes to the grown women, they're like, nah, it's about time us men step in, because this is now a men's issue. If you guys want to know how to feel about Iman Khalif, look no further than the way these random men reacted as compared to women boxers who actually have fought Iman Khalif.
It was disturbing to watch.
To me, they've got blood on their hands because there was blood coming from a nose, and it was a disgrace.
And would you be comfortable fighting against it?
I've already fought against Iman, hard fighter, and my last fight was against Iman in the Netherlands in the final, so yeah. You just keep punching in the sport of boxing, it doesn't really matter, so yeah.
Logan Paul, WWE superstar, boxer, influencer, he yesterday said, "This is the purest form of evil unfolding before our eyes. A man allowed to beat up a woman on the global stage, crushing her life's dream."
Very happy for Iman, weathered the storm and got what she deserved. This is sickening. This is a travesty. I'm not afraid. We're evenly matched.
Sorry, it's not more dangerous.
Oi. What up, Uggo? How's it going? How's it hanging? How's it dangling?
The fights have concluded, and Iman kicked their asses, but it wasn't more dangerous. Oopsie. It's like your worst nightmare came true. After Logan Paul, Piers Morgan, and J.K. Rowling give their highly educated take on Iman Khalif, they get to go back to what they've been doing. Logan Paul gets to reskin Lunchables and sell them for millions of dollars. Piers Morgan gets to move on to the next news story. J.K. Rowling gets to write her next book about wizards who definitely don't experience gender dysphoria. Oh, by the way, Iman Khalif is suing Elon Musk and J.K. Rowling, which is just fucking awesome. I think that's about as much as I can contribute to this conversation, but if you enjoyed this content, I have at least 20 minutes of edited content that I'm going to upload on Patreon and on YouTube memberships. I realize that every video I make on this channel, I have at least 20 minutes of edited content that I just send off into the ether every time. I figured this is a good way to like be a little bit more sustainable with my content. All right, that is going to do it for this video. Thank you for watching. Remember to tune in.
I actually really appreciate content creators who do this. I'm not even gonna lie. Content creators who make, and this video is already really long, 27 minutes. They cut out all the excess fluff, but then if you want to see the excess fluff, you can go subscribe to whatever Patreon or whatever.
Next time when I take the Turing test.
Please, 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 everyone. I saw somebody said, I never expected this kind of stuff from iDubbbz. I mean, I knew that he changed, but this is better than I hoped. Yeah. Well, I think that the thing is, it's not like artificial change, right? It's internal change and then externally telling everybody else, hey, this is me now, right? But please, please, if you like this type of content, you want to make more content and stuff. I know he's gotten a lot of hate from rightoids who are mad that their like favorite internet edgelord stopped being an edgelord and decided, actually, I want to be a cool person in the space. So please go and subscribe, like the video, comment, be like, this is very cool. Just leave that comment, exactly that comment. And then put one emoji of your choice so I know that you were there. And if you do that, something crazy will happen. A super secret, super, super cool thing will happen. Very super secret cool thing was going to happen. And Anissa, we're really nervous about how this video is going to be received. It's really reassuring to see. Oh, yeah. I mean, it's really good video. It's a very good video. Really well put together. So, yeah. Is change really real without a ukulele? You got a point. You do got a bit of a point. You do got a point. I'm not gonna lie.